Wine Library TV. I am your host, Gary Vaynerchuk, and this, my friends, is the Thunder Show, aka the internet's most passionate wine program. And I have a very wonderful guest, gentleman I know pretty well. He's just a great dude. We spent a very nice day together once. Came to my book signing, which I really appreciated, and comes from a winery that I think is very interesting. I'm going to bring up some historical questions in a little bit, go a little history on you. But Jeff, why don't you tell the Vayner Nation who you are? You know, you're a really cool-looking guy. I mean, look,
I'm coming east. I had to dress the part. I'm Jeff Bundschu. My family's been growing grapes and making wine in Sonoma since 1858. So we just did our 151st harvest. Very nice.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's an amazing accomplishment. So is it great-great-grandfather?
I was thinking about it.
Or is it great-great-great? Or
it is my great-grandfather's grandfather who started it. So great-great-great-great-grandfather.
Wow.
Goes way back, and that's old by California standards for sure.
That's insane. Right. You know, you start going to like Bordeaux and Burgundy, they're like,
yeah, right.
What's that, yesterday? But
that's
by California stage. And so continuously, even during Prohibition, you sold them to like churches and stuff?
We sold grapes to the wineries that were selling to churches.
Right.
Churches.
Right.
You know, big
or
word.
whatever.
Whatever they were selling to. But
we got a church over here.
Yeah. So we you know, it was probably the hardest and most challenging time of the history was the time from the earthquake in 1906 to about 1955 when my dad came back into the business. My grandfather ran it.
What did he do when Prohibition came?
He kept half the property. At that point it was about 200 acres. Half of it was still in grapes, and this is my grandfather Toll. He sold it to people like Louis Martini.
Yep.
And wineries like Almaden, and then he replanted the rest of it to pears. He even had some cattle, just trying to go, and was really going to sell it before my dad got back into the family business. He grew up more as a farmer than a winemaker, and it was Dad that came back and said to his dad, "Look, people are drinking wine. This is the late '60s. We should get back into it. We should get back into it."
And where's the Gundlach part come from?
Well,
since we obviously now know where the
Bundschu part's from. Yeah, the original founder was Jacob Gundlach. He came directly to San Francisco around South America in the 1850s. Drawn by the gold rush, and then he opened a brewery.
Aren't we all?
Yeah, that's it.
Aren't we all?
And he had a daughter, and the daughter married his business partner Charles Bundschu, and two German guys.
Was there a big age discrepancy there?
How would you even know to ask that? Because that's the quiet secret of the Bundschu family. The promise, let's say, was made a little early in the woman's existence.
I understand.
That's as far as I'm going to go.
I'll make a business deal with you. If.
That's right. I'll work for you full time if that kind of deal.
Well, you know, Gundlach Bundschu was one of the first wineries I had ever heard of, ever. When I got into wine, we carried it when I got into my dad's business. Yeah. It used to be with Jador back then, I think.
Yeah.
You remember those?
Yeah.
John Gellner, you know that character?
I do know, vaguely.
But really, probably within the first 25 stories of the wine world, I knew that this was, that some Gundlach made it into the Reagan White House.
I believe early on, in the early 80s, back, there was a portion that was probably the Merlot, just given that at that time that was the variety we made. We were the second winery in California to do an independent Merlot.
Is that right? Who was the first?
Louis Martini.
Okay.
In 76 was our first vintage. I think he had a 74.
Got it.
You know.
So in 76 you have a Gundlach Bundschu Merlot, and then a second standalone Merlot.
Yeah. Back then it was, we planted it to bolster up our Cabernet, but didn't like the blend at that point. I shouldn't say we, my dad and the winemaker then, so it probably would have been that wine. We were on a pretty fast growth path. We were through the 80s and the 90s. We got up to about 75,000 cases by 2000. And then when I took over, I really wanted to focus on our estate. And that's when we sort of made a strategic shift to shrink our production. And we're now down to about 25,000 cases, but 100% estate grown.
And from that standpoint, what was that rationale?
It was kind of youthful exuberance on my part. I was coming in. I really wanted to make sure that what we were doing.
Such an honest answer.
In hindsight, some of that volume wouldn't be bad, but we were.
We'll take some of that back.
But really, we wanted. It's my name on the label. I was looking at my dad's peers, and they were guys
getting brand recognition, right?
Well, they were getting brand recognition, in which we
because
had.
One interesting thing is you have great brand recognition and it's carrying, people know it, but a lot of wineries in those late 80s, early 90s, they built their businesses on the press.
Right.
And the press wasn't horrible to you, but it
Yeah.
was by no means as good to you guys as it was to some people, and I'll be blunt with you, because that's just the kind of character I am. A lot of wineries I think made inferior wine at that time. Just, listen, let me phrase that. Everybody has their own palate. And
Yeah.
so whoever were the tastemakers at the time seemed to have gone a different direction. So you didn't have the luck of getting those 94, 95-point scores to really make it easy as so many other people did.
Tell me about it.
And I'm sure that was a big thing, right?
Well, I mean, the irony was, and
it was a big thing.
It was a huge deal, and what even makes it worse is it wasn't even out of luck that we didn't get him. It was out of kind of willful negligence. I mean, an actual kind of, my dad and the people that he had working around him in the 80s were wine of the people kind of people, and thought that there was an attitude that came with the press in those days that made it elitist, and they didn't like it and were pretty vocal about it.
So they were yapping about the snobbiness
They
of
were
the press.
they were loud.
And so they ended up not getting crashed by the wave, but they didn't ride the wave.
They didn't ride the wave.
That so many people.
That's
did.
right. And then, but what I started seeing was his peers, my dad I'm talking about, were getting to their retirement age, 55, 60, and they had to sell. That's when you see family wineries at that age where the founder, proprietor, or even the second generation has to just say, look, I want to cash in. I'm tired of doing this. And lo and behold, all they have is their brand, and they sell it. And so around me there was Arrowwood, there was Glen Ellen, there was Ravenswood, and the list, it just keeps going. And that was like the first round of consolidation. And I said, heck, I want to get this in a place where I could hopefully pass it on, and that meant quality in the bottle, and then a limitation on what we were trying to do.
And so what you kind of felt at that moment was, if I don't get involved and really take it in a direction that I, at least in my mind, feel is the most viable, then I'm gonna not be in a position to pass on what's been going on here for all these years.
That's right. And then.
Did that hit you hard over like a bottle of wine one night?
Well,
it seems like the kind of thing that would.
Well,
like you're drinking a little too much, Gewurz one night, and you're like, you know what, crap.
Well, you look at it and you see these guys selling. I mean, this is my name, and I'm like selling my name. I'm like, there's guys walking around Sonoma and Napa whose names are famous because their great grandfather did something, and I don't want to be that guy. I mean, knock on wood, you never know.
Sure.
But I'm going to fight hard to preserve it. So that was what my objective was. Also, a word that I know you care a lot about, passion. My dad our family business didn't have sort of a protocol. It basically was, look, you got to make sure you're blessed to be in this thing that has a lot of different variable aspects, farming, making, selling. You got to make sure that whatever you choose, that the thing is you're passionate about. And for me, I'm passionate about making sure that my game is left on the field in the bottle. And
so you wanted to control that.
I want to control it, have it in our vineyard, and believe me, it's a evolving. It's a hard thing to catch.
Tell me about my favorite all-time Gundlach Bundschu item, just because it was hilarious and I was young and I sold the crap out of it. You know where I'm going? Baratage.
Oh,
there was a wine they had. It was called Baratage. It was like a $10 to $15 wine, and I put it in a catalog. It was one of the first decisions I made because I just wanted to have lots of it in the store.
Yeah.
Because I'd be like, hey, check out this wine with a bear on it. That's what I thought was cool when I was 16. Clearly, I was not very cool, but
Well, as usual, a precursor. I mean, that was the original Critter label. It was my dad and the winemaker at the time in the early '90s. We always had press fractions or barrels that didn't make the cut to the final estate wines. That we had something to do with it. We needed something to do. The Meritage, we had Zinfandel at that. We have Zinfandel on the property. And so it was going to be a Cab Merlot Zin, and the Meritage Association was pretty adamant that it needed to be the Bordeaux varietals if it was going to be Meritage. So they, again, sort of a little bit of that. They added the Zin, and then they thought about it, came to Baratage, and it took off. It was tail wagging the dog again. And I caught on, and it was I called that my business school. I didn't go to business school, but that's where we learned. It was very good for the price. We're making no money on it, and then we thought, well, we could grow it. So I brought some wine in from Chile, and the whole the quality crap. And I'm like, So it is in hibernation, but
it may rear its head again.
If there is an bear on the if you see the Uber come out because it has to be better.
I love it. Let's get into the first one. That's good. All right. This is the Gewurztraminer.
Yeah.
08.
Yep.
I like what you've done with the package.
That
Very
is
classic.
That is the new package.
I like it. It's really the best one I've seen from you guys.
Awesome.
For my taste. I really like it.
That's
it caught my attention just now.
Yeah.
It's 100% Gewurz. It's suggested retail about 22, 23 bones, about 2,500 cases made, right?
Yep, that's right.
And this is one of the varietals that you know, even when I stopped by the place, it was one of the first things out of your mouth. It's a varietal that you guys are pretty proud of.
Yeah, you know, we hang our hat on this. It's the original varietal that we have that harkens back to the home country,
land.
so to speak. And we pulled out a lot of stuff like Sylvaner and Riesling, and this is the one that.
And this is great timing with Thanksgiving coming up.
Yeah,
I mean, this
absolutely.
is a varietal that does extremely well, but also, you know, for people that love Thai food or spicy food,
Yeah.
Chinese food, this, you know.
It really does work. It's hard to say that the sobriety test in Sonoma is if you can't say Gundlach, Bundschu, Gewurztraminer, you shouldn't be driving.
Good one. All right, snippy snip. I like that. Let's snippy snip this up because I love the snippy snip. It's a big thing for me.
Yeah,
the aromatics and this varietal, maybe more so than any other, I think brings so much to life on the nose.
Yep.
What are you picking up?
Well, bright fruit, not as much lychee as in previous vintages. We usually get a lot of lychee nut. This is a little more banana, a little more citrusy.
Banana. I get a little banana.
Yep.
I also get a little bit of an orange blossom on the nose, which I like quite a bit.
Yeah.
It's also kind of spicy.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the direction that we're going. We've always had less than 1% residual sugar here, and this is the first time in a long time that it's been bone dry. And it's even going to go more that direction in terms of fresh acidity with the 09.
You know what's funny? I almost feel like a sweet salt, like sweet sea salt. If there was such a thing like sweet sea salt, is there such a thing? All the Epicurious peeps out there are going to leave comments, but there's something like, for a second I caught it like a little sea salt, which I thought was interesting, and then it got sweet on me, and so that's why I made that fake product up right now, but that's what it kind of smells like to me.
A sweet sea salt has me thinking.
I threw a curveball at you.
No, but I mean, that would be pretty interesting to bake with.
What about the room temperature aspect that we're doing here?
Well, I like it. You know, I these wines you guys had ahead. There's a couple different ways to drink this wine. One is with a table full of very hot New Orleans crawfish, and it's spicy and it's chilled to the bone, and then you drink it like
delicious, actually.
You drink it like it's water, but it does have 14% alcohol, so you got to be careful.
Good.
Or when you're really trying to dig into it, like any wine that we feel, cellar temperature is really nice because it lets you smell it all.
But this is a little even warmer than cellar temperature, just a hair.
Yeah,
which I like, but you're always worried about because the alcohol will come through more.
Well,
right?
yeah, you know, but I'm always sort of I was going to say, just show it your all. Lift your skirt, drop your pants.
You were about to say something about balls.
It's
okay, you can do it.
I was going to do that. I was going to say you could just show it all. Bring it warm and let it show.
All right, let's give it a whirl. Yeah, because if it gets cold, forget it. This is the time. This is a moment where I'm really upset the winemaker is here, and the representative from the winery, because he would do much better if this was just on the show without you here, because the Vayner Nation and the people watching, they know I'm a good dude and I'm a nice guy. Yeah. It's always tough to review wine with the person sitting there.
Yeah.
And they're gonna think that I'm gonna score this wine 1 or 2 points higher than I would have.
Yeah.
Gotta be honest with you, this wine is extremely good. Now, what excites me is a couple things. One, it's got great acidity on the back end. It's extremely well made. I love this baked apple flavor that attacks right away.
Yeah.
And then it's got an enormous amount of intriguing different spices that we pick up on the nose on the outer layers. Almost like a white pepper, but not a lot, just like a couple little drops. Clovey a little bit, white flowers coming through.
Yeah.
And what also excites me is the winery sells this for $22, $23, which means, $17.99, $18.99.
You can find it.
Right? I don't know. I haven't done the homework, but this wine is showing extremely well. I really like the grip of this wine as well. It does attack your palate, and it's not too over the top. It's really quite Alsatian-like. In a blind tasting, I might lose this game because I don't see the California, love handles that I find so much.
Yeah. It's funny you say that because part of the challenge with this wine is getting a little viscosity, but you can't, without sacrificing that sort of bright fruit. And we walk that line. It's all stainless steel fermented, and it's good. I'm happy you like it.
I really like it. I'm going to score 91 points, and I want you to know that that's not an 89 plus, and I'm being nice. This is a really exceptional effort, and if you have an opportunity to find it for your Turkey Day, this would be a great time to try to find it. But if you're a big Thai, Asian cuisine, spicy kind of, Vietnamese, those kind of exotic meals, this is an absolute perfect wine. I'm very, I'm curious. I'm gonna actually I don't watch Wine Library TV. I'm gonna actually watch my initial reaction of this one. I'm gonna watch it tonight, and I'm just curious to see what my face reaction was, because to be very blunt with you, I'm very caught off guard how good this is. And that could be a backhanded compliment. I mean, I'm not joking.
No.
I'm caught off guard. I think it's really good.
Thank you very much.
It's really good.
Thank you very much.
Let's move on.
There'll be a lot of people in the Bundschu
Clan
universe will be happy to hear that.
Let's rinse.
Thank you.
Now this looks pretty light, which excites me, which means you're not putting any Syrah in it.
No Syrah.
How much of a dirty secret was that during this last Pinot Noir explosion, do you think?
I think the dirty secret is something that translates regardless of what the hot varietal is at the time. And that's that when the dirty secret, or the reality, is that legally I can put 75% Pinot Noir in this bottle and 25% of anything
Blue
else.
Portuguese.
That's exactly right. And
now, can you put Coca-Cola?
No.
It has to be a grape.
It has to be a grape.
I'm joking. I know. But it's got to be...
I thought about it. I had to spin because I have thought...
But, I mean, that's amazing to me, that you could put 75%, Pinot in here and 25% Chardonnay. Now, you won't. But, I mean, you just can't.
You could do Cabernet, you could do Zinfandel, you could do
06
anything.
Estate Pinot. This wine rolls in at about 32 bones, and I'm excited about that.
So, that's the difference when any varietal...
Did you cut yourself, Mott? Look at this. Let's zoom in.
Jeez, blood on my...
What
are you
happen?
guys doing to me?
Why did this happen?
Well, I was out there.
How?
I hitchhiked from Brooklyn today.
Tough crowd.
And I hit a mirror.
So people were clearly... I mean, when I was looking at Pinot and I couldn't see my fingers, people were clearly blending.
You're trying to get body, right? You're trying to build up...
And America likes big wines, and Pinot's hot, so if I make it a little bit bigger, there's a sweet spot.
Yep. It's.
Did you know a lot of people experimenting with that?
Well, I knew... No one that would admit to me.
Right.
I mean, no one that would
Did you know anybody that admitted it?
Out front?
No, behind the scenes.
I could probably name
I'm not
a
looking
couple.
for names.
No, but I could probably name a few people that are going to mess with the blend, that take advantage of that. There's a line, though. I mean, you're either trying to make wine that's representative of the site and you've got the resources, or you're more in the marketing of it and you're basically building up a blend to be a commercial success.
Sure. How many people would you say, and this is just your gut feel, in Sonoma, which is what you know best, how many would you say are in category A that, are just making the wine that way, and category B that are, and by the way, you're talking to an entrepreneur businessman. I'm not down on that.
Yeah, right.
That you feel are in the wine business, and how many people are in A in the wine business?
That's a great way to phrase it.
I like that, right?
It is.
I should patent that.
Yeah, it is a really good way to phrase it.
Business or the wine business.
My family wishes I was in the wine business, but I'm really in the wine business.
Right. What would you break down? You just your gut. All the families.
I would roughly, and this is with the biggest asterisk you can imagine, asterisk, and I'm making this up off my head, but I would say you got to go 80% of the volume, 80-20 volume-wise, volumetrically, because there's millions of cases that come out of there, and then 20% of the volume is probably people that are focused. It could even be less than that.
Take out the volume, because that makes sense. You get these commercial successes and they're in the business.
In terms of brands?
Brands, yes.
Why don't we give me a price point to go above?
Just go coast to coast. Sonoma, the world you know.
That would be hard to tell. I mean, everybody right now...
It's a really tough question. I respect that. But I'm just curious.
You're
in the trenches. You're living out there. You're in these dinner meetings when the guy's like, yeah, but the label's going to make them buy it. Whereas somebody else is talking about, do you know that I put, I'm going biodynamic because I want my vineyards healthy. I mean, you know the chatter. You know the vibe.
Well, then, phrase like that, I'd say the highest percentage of people that I hang around are in it to do what they love.
Right.
And, I mean, that shows it's my neighborhood. It's the people I hang with. But they, they're not doing biodynamic because they want it to. At least the majority. Right. I would say 3/4 of the people that I know that are going that direction, sustainable, are doing it, that I know personally, are doing it because they care about it.
And because a sustainable vineyard is going to be healthier, you're going to make better wine.
That's right.
I mean,
that's right.
It's just a right move.
Right.
Whether it's marketing or making, content is king, right?
Right.
You put out a great wine, you win.
That's exactly it. And you got the 25% that are really looking to see what sells, and then it kind of that sort of line, 75-25, probably goes all the way through blending and these kinds of decisions. In terms, this is in my neighborhood. I mean, when you get to be bigger in size, which I would probably draw the line at 60 or 70,000 cases, is where all of a sudden the market really becomes a real pressure for you.
So this is very candy-like on the nose. Very, very like baked goods. It smells like raspberry tort.
Ooh, yeah. This wine takes advantage of the fact that half our vineyard right now, about half of the vines planted were planted in 1969, and that's about half.
Greatest year ever. January 12th, 1969, the New York Jets won the Super Bowl in the greatest upset in Super Bowl history. Yes, Mott, I respect what the Patriots upset was, but you have to understand, Sports Illustrated's official prediction the week before the Super Bowl was 41-0. The AFL wasn't even considered in the same realm.
I saw the game.
You saw the Jets game?
Yeah.
Really? How old were you?
I was 8.
And you remember it?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I understand. And you were happy because you lived in this area.
It was ambiguous at that point.
Fair enough. But that was a different story. That's like a UFL team beating an NFL team.
That was a very important year in history, too.
Yeah, the Knicks won, too.
Knicks, the Mets.
I know.
Landing on the moon.
It was just a big year. It was the last year of the 60s, so things got weird.
Yeah. And just to think, my dad missed that all. He's planting a damn vineyard.
So most of this is all.
It's about half of that, and the imported, the original wave of high-end imported clones to California were more light like this, Côte de Beaune style, very light color, very much, very aromatic, intense, but not over the top. We planted in '99 another
Pommard?
Basically Pommard 5, and then 3 Dijon clones. Basically put them together, and the skin to berry ratio is a lot less, so those wines left alone are very intense. And this ends up being a balance, and that's the goal for us.
Give it a whirl. Solid. I wouldn't say, it's not lighting my mouth on fire.
No.
And it's going to be a hair light for some people.
Yeah.
Did this vintage come out a little bit lighter?
Yeah. 06.
This is a tad light for me.
Yeah. 06 is light across the board.
Yeah, and so the 05s were...
05s and 07s. But
everybody's just completely losing their mind about the 07 vintage. Yeah. I mean, there's enormous hype from the press, from people that have barrel tasted. Obviously, even from the honest suppliers that I deal with, that will always say, yeah, Gary, it's a good, they're excited. I mean, it seems like there is an enormous pent-up excitement between, from Napa, from Sonoma, and the Pinot side. It seems like there's a lot of hype on the 07s.
We're pretty happy with what we have, but I haven't tasted too many. Do you agree with it? You probably
I haven't tasted enough yet to go there. Let me rephrase that. I've tasted enough to say it's definitely exciting.
Yeah.
And it's a big vintage, and what I like, it reminds me a lot of 99, more so than... which I think is a massively underrated vintage for the Cabernet grape, for example. I haven't gone all the way there to really go there, but I think there's definitely potential.
If you were to compare the R07 to the 06, there's more weight, more body, and it's a little darker, but really it's just a little more intense all the way around. 06 was a year that...
I like this wine, but it's
a quafffer.
It's thin.
Yeah.
And then comes the debate of, 32 bones.
Yeah.
To me, this is, a solid 88-point wine, which is, it's nice Pinot, but definitely it's a little hot. A little hollow on the mid-palate, and it's a little light. And what I like about that is this is the kind of Pinot that really attracts me to drinking. As I drank it, I'm like, ooh, fish.
Yeah.
You know? I'm thinking about going crazy in 2010 and only eating fish, just by 85% of my meals, eating a whole fish. Seriously.
I think that would be awesome.
Yeah, I love it, and I think it's healthy, and I just want to do it.
With the head and the eyes looking back. But yeah.
Absolutely.
Right there. You got to be looking right at it.
I'm sucking the eyeball out.
You got to be doing that.
So
that's the best part of the whole thing.
And I'm excited about that because I think, Brandon Warnick. So I think that I'm going to drink a lot of Gamay, a lot of Beaujolais.
Yeah.
I'm gonna drink a lot of lighter Pinots.
Yeah.
So maybe I'm gonna be, maybe I'll be one of the rare people focusing on 06 Pinots.
You could be,
You know?
because this is a good fish wine. There's no doubt about it.
Cool. All right, let's move on.